I don't like using these covers when it's wet or in the winter because they just hide all the moisture underneath. But I can't get the car in the garage at the moment because it's not running. I've got to get it sorted. When I first got the car and took it back to the garage and we started it and it fired up straight away, but it wouldn't run right. And the reason it wouldn't run right is because in the metering unit the plunger wasn't going up and down properly, because after 10 years there'd be rust, maybe there wasn't any rust in it, but there was dirt in the system. So when I split the metering unit, I cleaned it up and I put it back together, and then it was a bit colder, so it wouldn't start in the morning, and once you did get it going, it was running really rough. So I took the cold start valve out, and I've got one here, and I tested it and I couldn't get it to fire petrol through at all. And also the old one, I'd done a continuity test on the contacts here and it wasn't working at all, so it wasn't spraying, and it was also jammed inside. So I got another second-hand one, and before I'm going to put this one in and test it, I sent it away to a proper company who test them and clean them out as well with a ultrasonic cleaner. So this has come back fully working, so I'm going to try this in a minute. But at the same time, there was a lot of pressure in the metering unit where it goes to the warm-up valve, this here, and it comes from the metering unit into here, and then when it's cold it should come out of there, but it wasn't coming out. So I took this off and I tried to blow through there, and there was just nothing going through there whatsoever, and it looked like that was blocked up. So I'm going to take this away and clean it and see if I can sort that and put it back on and test it as well. But when there's high pressure in the metering unit, when it's cold, it doesn't let the butterfly valve raise or lower, so it wouldn't let any fuel through to the engine to get it started, and the only way that I could get it to run was to jam a screwdriver into the metering unit. And that was the only way I could get it to run, with a screwdriver jammed in here. And as a result of there being high pressure, this being jammed in, the air intake being off, it would run really rich. There's a high pressure at the top of the metering unit at all times, and it comes out the top of the metering unit into the warm-up regulator valve, and when it's cold the fuel should be able to flow through the warm-up regulator valve, and when it warms up then the regulator valve stems the flow of the fuel pressure, thus increasing the fuel pressure on top of the metering unit. But when it's cold, the fuel pressure is constantly on top of the metering unit. So I've come into my little workshop area and I've taken off the warm-up regulator valve and I've opened it up, and I'm going to have a look and see what I can find inside, and also test there's a little bio-metallic strip inside, and I'm going to test that as well. So I've stripped it right out and taken everything out, the springs. There's a little plate that presses up against this, and there's an inlet and outlet, and the fuel pressure comes in and presses against this little plate, which moves up and down and shuts on and off this little valve right in the very middle. Now, I've already blown through the pipes on this, and I can blow through the outlet, but I can't seem to blow through the inlet, so this gauze may be blocked, or there's a little blockage in this little pipe here, so I'll have to get that put in this ultrasonic cleaner and get that cleaned. But also I'm just going to quickly test this biometallic strip, because when it heats up it moves up and down and also puts pressure on the little diaphragm inside here. So I'll just test it, and it should read about 23 to 25 ohms. And that's perfect, it's reading 24. So the biometallic strip is okay. So it looks like there's a blockage in this inlet port here, not letting fuel into the unit from the top of the metering unit. Thus, the metering unit, when it's cold, it should move up and down easily, but because of the fuel pressure, it's barely able to move at all, thus not letting, hopefully, not letting the vehicle start. So I'll get this cleaned, assemble it all back together, put it back in the car and give it a try. The gauze in here was totally blocked and I couldn't blow through it at all, so to clean it out I used airflow cleaner and also this alloy cleaner which I've used on the engine to clean like so the alternating casing and the power steering casing, and this does a really good job as well. So I've cleaned it out and now you can actually blow through there and it'll let fluid down through the gauze. So beforehand, with this being pressurised, it was holding back the pressure on the metering unit head and it wasn't allowing flow through here and through here back to the metering unit and then back to the tank, thus keeping a high pressure on the butterfly valve, and it wouldn't let it rise, so there wasn't enough vacuum with the engine turning over to make this rise, and it was really difficult to pull up, and I'll show you that in a minute when I put it back on the car. So I've got it all to put back together, and there's this little pin which you just put a little dot of grease on and it sits down in here, because you have to turn this upside down to put back onto this bit with the springs and the cup on it. So this has got to be turned over and put down onto that, and then you screw it all back together. And you know when it's located, when the pin is located, because there's a little bit of resistance and it sits up off the base plate and you can push it down like that and it just pushes it back up, so you know it's located then. So now I'm just going to get the screws in and screw it all back together. Again, I have to turn it upside down. I can do with an extra pair of hands, but just get one of these in quickly. Get the second one in. And I can now get to this running adjuster, because I've drilled a hole in the bottom of the brass unit, which you can do, and now I can get to this adjuster, which is a running adjuster, which increases or decreases pressure even further when the engine is running and revving. But it's kind of a fine tune, so I've set it about halfway just now. I've not screwed it right in or left it screwed right out. I put it in about halfway, and you just have to try it in the car. But you're best using a pressure tester, which I don't have. I'm just going to have to try it and see what it's like. So here's the old cold start valve, and I cut this and took it apart just to show you what's inside it. And if you take this off, there's a little, I don't know what you call it, a little plunger inside here, and that sits in there, but the problem is over a period of time it gets stuck in there. When this is actuated, it actually moves this little plunger up and lets the fuel flow past it and out through the injector. But the problem is that this is stuck and it wouldn't move. When these are in good condition, you should be able to hear them click backwards and forwards. You can hardly hear it, but they should click backwards and forwards. But the the electrical part of this one wasn't working anyway, so it wouldn't have actuated the plunger anyway, so that's why I got a new one. So that's the new cold start valve, which fits in here. There's a gasket, it's held in with a gasket and two screws, and then it just plugs in to the thermo time switch, and I'll just make doubly sure that that's got its connector on as well. Never overlook the obvious. And I've also got the warm-up valve, and that just goes down in here, which I can actually leave it off the engine just to adjust this, but really the engine's got to be warmed up, so and also you need to tighten these on securely, so I'm just going to put this on and connect it all up and then give it a go. Well, that's everything put back together, everything's tightened up. I've checked for leaks in the induction system and I just can't see any at all. The thermotime switch is connected up, all the pipes are on and tightened up. So the only thing left to do is to try it and try and start it and see how we get on. Well, I think that answers the question, so I'm just going to check to see if there's fuel pressure there. There's fuel there, but there's not a lot, there's not a high pressure in, which is possibly a good thing in that the warm-up regulator valve is working, but maybe not in another way, it might not be getting any fuel at all. So I'll take off the main line, see if there's fuel getting into the system. So fuel getting to the cold start valve, which is good. Well guys, I've tried everything. I've done the warm-up regulator, the cold start valve, cleaned out the metering unit, I checked absolutely everything, spark, put fuel in it, and the problem's still there, it's exactly the same. And I know that these are difficult to set up, the Bosch K-Jetronics, but to be absolutely honest, I'm a bit fed up. I thought I could maybe sort that one, but I can't. I'm going to have to give it to an expert, and probably with experts is that they know how to put an expert bill, but somebody who specialises that, I suppose they're worth their weight in gold, and they can get this going and running right, because that's obviously the heart of the car, and once that's running right, everything else should fall into place. So I'm sorry I couldn't get it going. These things sort of hang over me, and I was determined to get it sorted out, but I'm not can afford to do anything at the moment. I'll just have to wait until the summer, sort of save up and maybe buy or sell a few things and send it away for somebody to at least get it running so that I can get it back and get it finished. So, thumbs up if you enjoyed it, if it's been of any help. You never know, if I can have a sort of stroke of genius and think of something that'll sort it, I'll get back and I'll post a short little video of it up and running. But in the meantime, it'll probably be quite a while before I can get things sorted out with this car. So I couldn't let it lie at that, and I went away and got some more fuel just in case it was short of fuel. Never overlook the obvious. Put the fuel in. I also got some more easy start, and I opened up the air intake, sprayed a lot in, put the air intake back on, and it started, but it immediately stopped. So I'll just show you what I've done next. And I've put the screwdriver back in, and I'll start it. So with the screwdriver in, it'll start and run now. I've not got the screwdriver pressed right in as I did the last time, so to be honest I might not be that far away. So I'm going to have another go in the morning and I'll report back. Good morning all. And it's a lovely morning this morning after the drab day yesterday, and the sun shineth on the righteous, they say, and I've got a wee bit of hope that I can get this thing running a bit better today. I don't know why last night, but I gave it one more go and I didn't have the screwdriver in as much, so that the butterfly valve wasn't open as much, and it seemed to start and run okay, but when I put the plastic induction pipe on, it still doesn't start. So there's a little 3mm Allen key adjusting that down in there, and I'm going to adjust it down to make it richer or up to make it leaner, and I'll see if that has any effect. Connect the battery up first. That was down, so now I'll try it up. So to get it running, I have to jam this in here, the screwdriver in here, and if I let it go it'll start but it won't rev. But if I open this up slightly, it will start and it'll rev. So I'm not taking the metering unit, the whole head off yet, which I'm going to do, and then I'm going to adjust the height of this butterfly valve here to about this height, then put this back on. But the problem is I've put this back on already and the car either won't start or it won't run. So it's a combination of the whole things that's making it not run, and it's doing my head in, to be honest. I've been doing a little bit research online on YouTube, and it's called a sensor plate, not a butterfly valve, and there should be 2mm play between it in a rest position and it hitting the bottom of the fuel plunger in the metering unit, and you can actually hear it. You won't be able to hear it in the camera, but you can hear it hitting the plunger inside, and currently I've got it sitting level, and it actually moves. It moves about 2.5mm, and the allowance is 1 to 2mm. So I'm going to adjust the height of the sensor plate. I'm going to move it up about 1mm, and that should be about right. So if you don't get that right, apparently the car just won't start. So if I move it to the correct position, hopefully the car will start, and then I can move on to the adjuster screw after that and see if that makes a difference. So it seems very crude, but the way to adjust the height of this sensor plate is just by bending this little bracket here, and when it comes to rest, it comes to rest there, but it can push that little metal arm down the way, but when it sits at rest, it won't actually sit any lower than that. So if I just bend this little bracket here 1mm, it should be sitting hopefully perfect after that. Well, that's as good as I can get it, so I'm going to put it all back in the car and connect up all the hoses and see what happens. Well, you could see there, as soon as the screwdriver fell out, it stalls, and if I put this rubber boot intake back on, it just won't run at all. To be honest, it's been very similar as when I got it. It didn't want to rev, and I've done all the work on it, and it's just much the same. So there's something fundamentally wrong with it. I've put a new fuel pump in it, I've changed lots of things in it, and it's just exactly the same. So whether it's a setting or if it's something I've completely overlooked, I've no idea. And to be absolutely honest, it's beyond my abilities now. I think I don't have enough experience on the K-Jetronic, and I've just been trying things that I've seen on YouTube and on the internet, and they just don't seem to work, and it's exactly the same. So yeah, sometimes you just have to stick your hand up in defeat, and it really has to go to a proper expert to find out what's wrong with it. But as I said earlier, you know, it's going to cost me, and at the moment I just can't afford to do that, so it's just going to have to sit for quite a while until I can afford to send it away to somebody to get repaired. So guys, I apologise, I couldn't get it going. There's lots of other things I can get on with in this car, but I'll just have to mothball it for the meantime and sort out all the rest. And hopefully, I don't know if it could have been of any help, this video, to anybody who's working on this, or if anybody knows or has got any idea on, you know, what I'm doing wrong, please leave a comment in the comment section below. I'd be quite interested. You know, I'm quite open to try different things, you know, in the meantime to get it going. But hope you've enjoyed the video. Thumbs up, please subscribe, there'll be more videos coming on very soon.